Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, is a large marine creature believed by some people to inhabit Loch Ness, Scotland. However, much of the alleged evidence supporting its existence has been discredited, and it is widely thought that the monster is a myth. Reports of a monster inhabiting Loch Ness date back to ancient times. Notably, local stone carvings by depict a mysterious beast with flippers. The first written account appears in a biography of Saint Columba from 565 AD. Despite the lack of conclusive evidence, the Loch Ness Monster remained popular and profitable. In the early 21st century, it was thought that it contributed nearly 80 million annually to Scotland's economy. Number 5. First sightings. On August 22nd, 564, some historians say Columba, a Christian leader, reported seeing the animal that would become known as the Loch Ness Monster in Loch Ness, Scotland. Columba was an Irish priest who was visiting Scotland and reportedly compelled the monster to not attack one of his followers. The Loch Ness Monster is probably the most famous of cryptozoology. Number 4. Godsmacked, from Terry P. I'm driving along the loch side, glancing out of the window. You can see the rock formation. I was just down on the road there, as I saw it rock. I saw this boiling water. I thought, no, it can't be anything, and I carried on a wee bit. Then I looked again, and I saw 3 black humps. I've seen something in the water, but what is it? So I'm godsmacked. I'm looking out the window. I just didn't know what it was. Then the people came behind me, and they obviously wanted me to move, but I didn't want to lose sight of this thing. So I just pulled over to the side, grabbed my camera, and I thought I was being very cool and very nonchalant, and took 2 or 3 photos. In fact, I'd say I had taken 9 or 10 without realizing. I just punched a button, only pity was, it was a small camera. Number 3. I've seen it, from Paul P. Okay, what happened was, it was March 14th, 1996. I was beside the loch, I was doing my job. I'm the area manager of an insurance company, and I cover a large part of the Highlands. I was sitting doing paperwork, and I looked up at the loch, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this black hump come out of the water. I thought, heavens, and looked at it again, and sure enough, it went back into the water and came back out again, and back down. I immediately looked ahead and thought, I've seen it. Good grief, after all of these years being here, and then thinking, heavens above, I've actually seen it. One of the interesting things was, at the time, there was another chap with me who had just disappeared. It's just typical of these things that I didn't have a camera with me. I carry one now, obviously. I had just taken a photograph of a man for his family, and then he disappeared. He literally had just driven out 2 minutes beforehand, so I had absolutely no one else to corroborate. But on the hump, I would say it was black, sort of a dark black color. It had the water coursing off it, and it was just big. I think it's the best way to put it. It certainly wasn't a seal. It certainly wasn't a fish. All I can say is that I suppose looking at the loch that somewhere in there is the Loch Ness Monster, and as far as I'm concerned, I've seen it. Number 2, possible sighting, John C. Well, I was about 14 years old, and we had a local farm down here in Drummondraght. My late brother and late mother were in the car, and we were driving to Inverness for massages on a Saturday. Beautiful day, flat calm surface. About 8 miles from here, down towards Inverness, opposite Aldori Castle, I happened just to look to Loch Ness and shouted, "Stop the car." My brother stopped the car, and we all saw this huge commotion right in the center of the loch. It was a gray and brown mass. Now, I always try to relate it to the size of a bus, a big bus. It flipped over and crashed down. You could see it, and the waves from that point were about 3 feet high and ebbed to each side of the loch. That's what I actually saw with my own eyes, and my late mother saw, and my late brother saw as well. We did tell 1 or 2 people, but we didn't tell too many. I myself obviously think I saw the monster. Nobody to this day has been able to tell me exactly what I saw or what we saw. Therefore, I must say that it was the monster. Really, I actually saw it. It was an object. It was huge. What was it, if not the Loch Ness Monster? Number 1. New proof in Kong. A new fossil found in Morocco was twisted to claim that the existence of Nessie is now believable. The Scottish legend can actually be traced back to a popular motion picture. The Loch Ness Monster will simply not die, nor will its legend. Recently, old Nessie was in the news and trending on social media. A British digital publisher told us that an incredible discovery made the existence of the Scottish sea serpent plausible. Nobody had ever been able to prove it was real, perhaps until today. One of their treats read, "Get your binoculars out." Even the BBC claimed that African fossils showed a monster could have lived in Loch Ness. I am used to reporters blowing a mouse study out of proportion, often with the help of the drum beating scientists themselves in their university's public relations office and declaring cancer over. But the hype monster here would make a snack out of these laboratory mice. This incredible discovery does not move the needle on the plausibility of the Loch Ness monster. Nessie's legend, like the lake it is meant to inhabit, has been thoroughly examined. Nothing substantial has ever been found except for a fascinating hypothesis that the myth of Nessie was born in a famous movie released in 1933. Even if you were not alive in 1933, you have undoubtedly seen footage from this black and white classic, which used stop motion animation to bring to life a giant ape in front of mesmerized audiences. The film is called King Kong.